The term I've coined for it is suspension of disbelief. And it applied yesterday with the Carolina Arizona game because I think the majority of the gamblers and so many handicappers here at the site as well all fell for Arizona, looking at the Cardinals going, oh, well, this is a team that's performed so well as an underdog, performed so well on the road, especially since Bruce Arians took over. And this is a team that had played so well this season that they could stay within the 6.5 to 7 point number at Carolina, completely overlooking the fact that the Carolina Panthers, as I pointed out in yesterday's video report, had closed the season with a flourish. True, against four non-playoff teams, but they only gave up 43 points in those games and won all four of them. The suspension of disbelief was the fact that Arizona, a team that was injury-riddled with a third-string quarterback who had a career passer rating of just a little over 50%, who was 1-5 straight up as a starter, and an Arizona team that was not the same Arizona team defensively late in the season, giving up over 400 yards per game the final 6 weeks, and a team that could no longer run the ball once that Andre Ellington went out with a season-ending injury, was going to be able to compete at Carolina. Now listen, first half of that game, absolutely, Arizona looked like a genius play, but the thing is they play two halves. So again, sometimes when I'm personally handicapping, I look at games and I go, this just looks like too much of a sure thing. Take a step back, come back to the game later. Think about, is the suspension of disbelief principle being applied here? Now, listen, on the video report yesterday, I told you that I thought the way to go in that particular game was either you played the under, you played Carolina, or you looked to put Carolina in a teaser. Now, the under looked good for a while in that game, but of course it was a failure. But it was just one of those games that I just couldn't see how you would play Arizona. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, another game yesterday. There you go. Road dogs coming into yesterday's games. In the wild card, going back to 1978, we're one game under 500 versus the spread. Well, they're now even after Baltimore took care of business last night, winning the game outright as the 3.5 point dog in that one. And you looked at that particular game, and listen, I told you I thought the Steelers were going to be the play in that one. I also thought that if you were going to tease it with Carolina, the way to go was to take Baltimore plus the points. But bottom line is I took a pass on the NFL yesterday. I just was not in love with either one of those games, and instead I turned to college basketball. The inclement weather definitely affected my choice to stay away from the Steelers, and thank God I did. And instead I turned to college hoops with another 15-dime play, which matches the highest rated play in my career, and cashed in easily because I looked at that Maryland game against Minnesota and I couldn't understand how a Minnesota team that had lost 17 of 21 games on the road over the past 2 years was only a 5 to 5.5 point underdog against a one-loss Maryland team that had played awful earlier in the week and still managed to escape with a double overtime win at Michigan State in their Big Ten debut. Well, Maryland rolled easily over Minnesota, and I cashed in. And I'll say what I've said many times over the years. It's not like you go to the cashier's window with that winning ticket and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I got to pay you less because this is a college basketball winner as opposed to an NFL playoff winner. It doesn't work that way. You got to go for what's the best bet on the card. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here. This, in case you haven't figured it out, is your Sunday video report. I'm going to give you a free play and break down in detail the contest between the Cowboys and the Lions, because I actually think the best bet today is going to be the Cincinnati-Indianapolis game. And for me personally, it's going to be another 15-dime play, just like last Sunday when I went 2-0 in the NFL, including a 15-dime winner on the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm 71-55-7 with those 15-dime highest-rated plays in the NFL over the past 6 seasons. And it matches yesterday's 15-dime winner on Maryland in college hoops, 7-2 with those plays this season. Matches Friday's 15-dime winner in the NBA, 47-34 with those plays since 2009 with the Warriors. With the Suns getting the job done over the Philadelphia 76ers. And not only that, do I have a 15-dime side on the Colts and Bengals, but I also have a 5-dime bonus money line play today, and you can get them both at a savings of $60 by using coupon code 60 off, 60 OFF, no space between the number and the word 60 off. That's what I've got going today. The other big discounted play that you should be aware of today would be from Matt Rivers. Today, 7th ever blank check waved the rating NFL game of his career. Now, he has won 5 of 6 of those plays, and they've all come since the beginning of October. But this is his first one in 4 weeks. Remember his last one? Packers at home in that Monday Night Fair against Atlanta? He didn't have the Packers and suffer the backdoor loss. No, he had the Packers in the first half minus 7.5. And of course, they took a 31-7 lead into the locker room at halftime for the win. So, 7th ever blank check, waved the rating game of his career, saved $70 just like you did with the Packers winner by using coupon code MATT, M-A-T-T. He had 2 out of 3 College Bowl blank check plays, his first ever in his career with those plays as well in the College Bowl postseason. Cashing with Stanford over Maryland and TCU in that 42-3 rout of Ole Miss, and this play is just as strong. All your other discount plays, etc., are available on the homepage. I want to get to your free selections here. Let's talk about this game now between the Cowboys and the Lions in this one. I am just not a fan of the Detroit Lions on the road, and I think the numbers bear me out here in this particular contest because, listen, the Lions, who did they beat on the road this season? The Bears, the Falcons, the Vikings, and the Jets. As I said yesterday about the teams that Carolina beat during their 4-game season-ending win streak in the regular season, those 4 teams will all be watching the game on TV today, just like you and I. Matthew Stafford, 0-16 in his career straight up on the road against teams with winning records. 0-16. I mean, that's pretty hard to fathom, but it's so true. Where did Detroit lose on the road? Well, they lost to Carolina. They lost at Arizona. They lost at New England. They lost at Green Bay. They scored 42 points in those 4 losses. They're a one-dimensional team. Yeah, Matthew Stafford can throw the ball and Calvin Johnson can catch it, but they can't run the ball. Meanwhile, you got a Cowboys team that since the Thanksgiving Day loss to Philadelphia, reeled off 4 straight wins. They scored 41, 38, 42, and 44 points in those 4 straight wins. They've scored 31 or more in 6 of their last 7 games overall, with the only bad one, the loss to the Eagles again on Thanksgiving. It's a 6.5 to 7 point number. I'm buying. I mean, and if it's 7 or if it goes to 7.5, Jesus, I'm going ahead and buying down the half point. I know the Cowboys were 8-0 on the road, and I know that they were 4-4 at home. But like I said yesterday, what I'm looking for in the postseason, I'm looking for teams that started off fast, had a midseason swoon, and then finished on the upswing. Or I'm looking for teams that definitely finished the end of the regular season on an upswing. Well, I think the Cowboys certainly qualify in the latter category and in the first one as well, when you think about it, because their only swoon happened when Tony Romo was hurt. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys here minus the points. But it tells you, if I really like the Cowboys that much, how much I really like the Indianapolis-Cincinnati game today. Now, in college basketball today, I'm going to take a look at the, let's see, I want to take a look at the game between Utah and UCLA. You know, this UCLA team has lost 4 straight games. Matter of fact, one of my 15-dime winners in college basketball this season was went against the Bruins a couple of weeks ago, and they got hammered by Kentucky by 41 points. It's not like they've been playing cupcakes in that 4-game losing streak. They played Gonzaga at home and they lost. They went to Colorado the other night, Thursday, for their Pac-12 opener. And in that particular game, they opened up the big lead, but then the lack of depth, the lack of good free throw shooting cost them. And as a underdog, they failed to cover by 1 point. Well, now suddenly they find themselves as a 12-point dog at Utah. Now, listen, I like Utah. And this is a Utah team that handed Wichita State its first loss of the season with that big home upset. This is a Utah team that battled Kansas to the end in a 3-point loss in a neutral court after being down by, like 22 points at 1 point in that game. And this is a very tough Utah team that destroyed USC in its opener in Pac-12 play, 79-55. But I just don't see Utah covering this 12-point number today. That's a lot of points against a desperate UCLA team whose head coach, Steve Alford, is just being roasted at the stake. So I'm going to go with UCLA plus the 12 points. I mean, 4-game losing streak. That's their longest losing streak in 5 seasons, okay? Yes, they're shooting miserably during that 4-game stretch, 32.4%, averaging only 56 points a game. But again, They've played some very tough foes, and Utah's a tough team defensively. I just don't think that Utah is going to be able on the offensive end to extend the margin. Beating up USC, a rebuilding team that's going to finish probably ninth or 10th in the Pac 12 by 24 points at home, it doesn't really excite me. So I'm going to once again go with UCLA plus the points as your college basketball free selection. And again, in the NFL, I'm going to ride the Cowboys. Good luck, everybody, and I'll catch you again on Monday morning because the playoffs may be over, but there's still plenty of money to be won in hoops. Talk to you then.